Hey guys, this is Brian Rains coming to you from my home in Greenville, South Carolina. A lot of you people know that I used to be involved in the music industry, and I wanted to share a story with you. A lot of folks ask me to tell stories about my career in the music business, and I wanted to share a story with you about the Queen of Country Music, Tammy Wynette. Back in the early 1980s, I would say around 1983, 1984, I was in Nashville, Tennessee at the National Quartet Convention. We were at the convention center there in downtown Nashville, and I was sitting backstage with J.D. Sumner. Many of you may know J.D. from the Stamps Quartet. He sang backup with Elvis Presley, and I was sitting back there waiting for my time to go on stage to perform. And there was a very attractive blonde-haired lady sitting in a chair beside of me. And I didn't recognize her from the next lady that was sitting back there or standing backstage with me that night. And she and I struck up a conversation. She had short blonde hair and was wearing a white pantsuit. And she was very sweet, very friendly. And she and I were sitting there talking and just talking about the music business and just talking about life in general. And we sat there for about 40 or 45 minutes talking, and she was asking me all about my life on the road and me singing. And so I asked her, I said, do you sing? And she said, I do. And she said, I'm Tammy Wynette. Well, when she told me that, I looked at her and I said, well, if you'll excuse me, I'm just going to try to climb underneath this chair that I'm sitting in and hide and see if I can cover up my red face. Because I was so humiliated at that point in time, I just had no idea what to do. And I said, ma'am, do you realize how you just humiliated me and made me look like a fool? I said, for 45 minutes, you've been sitting here asking me about my career in the music industry, and you've let me sit here and talk to the Queen of Country Music and not let me know who you were? I said, I would have never in a million years recognized you. And I said, I've known you all my life from TV and concerts and all of those kind of things. And she said, well, honey, there's no way you could have known me. And I was about 21 or 22 years old at the time. She said, there's no way you could have recognized me. She said, you've always seen me wearing an evening gown or a real fancy dress, and you've always seen me wearing full stage makeup, and you've always seen me wearing a full wig. And she said, I'm sitting here with you tonight wearing a white pantsuit with very little makeup on and with no wig. I've got real short hair. And she said, there's no way you would have known me. So she said, don't feel bad. She said, I would have never expected you to recognize me. So she said, you don't have any reason to feel embarrassed. And she said, so you get a free pass. And so once I knew who she was, I definitely didn't feel as comfortable with her as I did before. But anyway, she was so sweet to me. And she said, why don't you and I get some pictures together? She said, I want to introduce you to my daughter. And she had her 16-year-old daughter, Georgette, with her, naturally named after her dad, George Jones. And J.D. Sumner was sitting beside of her daughter. And J.D., like I said, sang with Elvis. And there was a couple of other entertainers sitting down this row with us, and I've got pictures of all of that. And but she took pictures with me, and she was the sweetest lady. And she said, I've really enjoyed talking to you. And she said, let me give you my phone number. She said, I've got a song that I think would be suitable for you to sing. And she said, give me your phone number. And she gave me her phone number, and I gave her my phone number. And she said, give me your address. And she said, I'm going to send you this song. And she said, I think it would be appropriate for you to sing. She said, I think you'd probably like it. So a couple of weeks later, she sent me this song in the mail, and it was called Your Love. And I think it was recorded originally by Dan Seals. And so on my next recording project, I recorded that song that Tammy Wynette sent to me. But I learned very fast, you never know who you're going to run into. And so I learned to be very nice to everybody I talk to, because you never know who you're sitting beside. That was my lesson learned. And so I was sitting beside a Tammy Wynette, and I can tell you she was a sweetheart and just a super nice lady. So that's just one of my music stories from when I was on the road playing music back in the early 1980s. So we miss her. I got to work with a lot of big stars in the music business. I never became a star myself. I was always in the background, but I was blessed to meet and work with some of the greatest in the business. So anyway, Brian Rains, just wanted to share that story with you. I hope it gave you a little chuckle like it did me. Have a good day.